right, guys, welcome back. BDTR Wednesday Night Live. I know everybody's excited for this. And we actually got some semi-breaking news. Um, I was thinking, I was like, oh, we could go live early. And then I decided, I think the only time we'll ever do that, because I really like the 8 o'clock thing. It's consistent. You guys know when we're going to be on, whatever. So, but if Russia launches, we'll go live when that happens, and we'll just play the final countdown and just dance till that bitch. You got like 10 minutes to live. Let's go. So, first order of business here. A friend of mine got a hold of me because I was hoping, and she might call in tonight. We'll have to wait and see. She didn't get back to me on that. So you guys probably remember me mentioning very briefly the murder of Shauna Carlson. All right. So today they just charged this guy, Chris Nevling. Now they didn't charge him with murder. From what it's kind of weird the way this is written. So it says Houtzdale inmate was indicted by the Department of Justice. So this is going to be a federal case. Tuesday on 2 charges, including conspiracy to maliciously destroy property by explosives. Indictment states that between 3rd of October 2019 and 4th of October 2019, he unlawfully possessed a destructive device and also conspired with at least one other person to destroy property by using explosives. This is where the wording gets so it says during the same time, October 4th, 2019, an apartment building exploded along East Market Street in Clearfield, killing Shauna Carlson. Her death was ruled a homicide. United States Attorney's Office declined to comment if there's a connection between these cases. So I don't know what they're trying to do with this. I know there was mention of this guy being involved in that, obviously, like circumstantial evidence. Kind of looks like he might have been involved in that. But I know, the ATF has really been, working hard to make sure there's pistol braces and force reset triggers, getting those off the street. So if there's people going around blowing up buildings, just don't have the resources, guys. Another thing, they captured this, what was this guy's name? Danilo Cavalcante. Does that sound right?
Let me see it.
It's an interesting. I butcher everybody's name. You guys know that. But anyway, so
I don't know.
Probably all seen the video where this guy escaped or whatever. It was just, first off, that is not an easy feat, like spider crawling up the wall. Did you see the video?
No, honestly, I haven't seen the video yet. I'm sorry. I've been slacking today, guys.
He literally like wedges himself between two pieces of wall and just like crawls up, and I guess there was a guard on the tower that got fired over it. It seemed to me this guy had to have been getting help from somebody, and then he's on the run for 2 weeks, and they have all these cops looking for him. He just did, and suddenly they find him, and it was one of those things where I heard on the radio earlier they said that they saw him with the infrared or something from an aircraft. So I'm assuming they had the chopper out and he was hiding in the woods or whatever.
One of the few times that you don't get to the chopper.
Yeah, well, it kind of reminded me of the Eric Frayne thing because he was like living in the woods for a month and they couldn't find him. And I think he just got sick of running, so he turned himself into the marshals or whatever.
That sounds familiar.
That was there's a whole other thing with the Frayne stuff because it never made sense because they never really came out with a motive. It's like, oh, it just doesn't like cops. Like, well, that doesn't really. So what? You're gonna go shoot up the barracks and go hide in the woods for a month? Like, I don't know. I don't think the guy was that crazy. I think he was probably, obviously he was into survival stuff because most people aren't just going to go out and live off the land for a month. But yeah, this one definitely a little weird. I guess he's back in custody till he breaks out again or pays the guard off or whatever the hell happened with that. I don't know.
No, when you described what he's doing, though, that's some like parkour shit. Because I had a couple of friends in high school, Eric specifically, that was like really into that. And like every time I would watch him do the crazy parkour stuff, I was like, what the hell, dude? Just walk up the stairs. Why do you have to launch yourself across there's stairs?
Yeah, so Eric says he was found in the same barn that Bam Margera hid in. That's funny. Well, see, now we're getting back to the old, because the stuff with Randy reminded me, and he even brought up the WWE stuff because he's like, oh, it's all around my show, and he started with like the candy ass stuff. That's what made me think back to my childhood. because
Oh wow.
we didn't really ever watch wrestling in my house, but anytime I go over to my friend's house, that was, the WWE, WF, and The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, all that shit. So kind of brought back memories, but that's what the Bam Margera, what, he have a show on MTV or something? Like, guys, I'm not pretending like I know all about these. I just like saw the shows sometimes, but it just takes me back to whenever I was younger, because that's when they were. I don't know, like I haven't really heard anything about Bam for a while, so I don't know what he's been up to other than hiding in the same barn. So who knows?
I'm familiar with the name, but that's about it. I'm awful when it comes to like actors and actresses and TV, anything other outside of anime. That's about the only thing that I can keep up with.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't know if I told you, Critical Drinker actually did a review on the One Piece thing, and
Did he?
it sounded to me like he'd never really actually watched One Piece, but he's like, oh, he just kept comparing it to like how awful the Cowboy Bebop live action one was, and he's like, yeah, One Piece is so much better, and this one sucked because of this, and
We'll have
but
to
it,
watch that after this because I'm excited to see that. If y'all
yeah,
haven't seen or heard of Critical Drinker, he's a YouTube channel and it's actually a lot of it's super entertaining to watch.
it's
It's got a little bit
interesting.
of everything for whatever your forte is.
Yeah, he just like reviews movies and TV shows and stuff. So a lot of times before we go to bed, I'll turn him on just for something to watch. But yeah, Caleb, I posted my DD214 like what 2 months ago now, and Crazy Chris was telling me, "Oh, you're just stolen valor," and I posted it like 5 minutes later, and she's like, "Well, I was just joking, guys." Like, yeah, okay.
I'll get around to posting mine if that makes everybody happy. I don't promise it'll be tonight, but I'll get around to posting mine at some point.
Well, and see the Paul thing, because like
I don't really want to go there. I think most people feel like it's fun to throw jabs. It's fun to bring it up for like the joking side of it. But at this point, like we're all sick of hearing about that fucker.
yeah, I mean, with that reel that Rick Rick sent the video in, that reel's like almost 800,000 views now. And like I said, I don't care about numbers, but that's just like insane
Yeah.
that it's just blowing up. But and it's not like I said, part of the reason I wrote that article was so, and I've shared the article over and over, and everybody's like, well, who cares? Who cares? It's like, okay, well, the stolen valor is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay,
Yeah.
that's when you can say he has no credibility because he's been pretending to be a Marine for who knows how long now. But another thing I bring up too with the felony, like he got that felony, was what, 18, 19. So how did he join the Marine Corps after that? I mean, you can get waivers and shit, but it's, there's going to be some stuff filed on him. I'm not going to go into any details, and well, maybe there'll be a lawsuit too, but not from us. I don't get.
As soon as we
You
can talk
guys,
about it, we will.
you guys can smear me all day. All right, I got thick skin. I don't give a shit. And the way Crazy's page is, it's like it's a satire page. It just doesn't tell you that. I don't know. It's interesting, but I'm glad though the WordPress page, because I do get pretty good, pretty direct stats from WordPress, and you can always make the argument with the Facebook stuff. Basically, if somebody scrolls past it, that counts as a view. So in my mind, that's not really a view, but the WordPress, they actually have to click into it. So we've gotten almost 10,000 views on the Paul one. So
Which makes me happy because numbers don't matter, but it makes me happy because that many people now have a heads up. And even if it's not Paul that they deal with directly, they're going to have a heads up how to recognize certain people that are playing these kinds of games, that are being kind of shady. They're going to have it more in the back of their head when somebody says something a certain way or does a certain thing. If they read that article and it's something like, that doesn't make sense. Why would they say that?
my thing is, even if you completely disagree with the article, the only thing that pisses me off is when somebody's like, well, I don't care. I'm not going to read that. Well, if you don't care, why are you in here commenting? But at least people are willing to look at the information, because that's all I ask, is at least consider the information before you just start on your, well, who cares, whatever. Because, I mean, honestly, if it was just the stolen valor thing and he wanted to ride around on the Amtram, whatever, in his fake uniform, I wouldn't really care. It's everything else. This whole, the trying to get money out of people, basically. He doesn't have a nonprofit. He never did. He's not going to.
It's more than him just walking around pretending to be something. He's directly and indirectly hurting people. Whether it's not necessarily physically hurting them a lot of times, but in the long run, he is hurting people by his shams and his acts and the way he's just a fraud overall. That's why we care.
Well, and going around and accusing all these people of being pedophiles live on camera, it's like, what the fuck,
Exactly.
man? Like, in the one guy's place, I guess he showed up, he didn't even have, he had an empty folder. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I got all this, an empty folder. I mean, I know the police like to use that trick sometimes that, when they're interrogating you, but
It just pisses me off too
you're not a
because
cop.
he's not a cop. And it pisses me off because like the thing that he's preaching, protect children. Yes, everybody in their right mind, any good person, any sound person. Of course, we all want to protect children. We all want to protect the children. So for him to use that as his play, essentially, to use that for his way to scam people, that just infuriates me because that means he's taking advantage of good-hearted people. Their heart's in the right place.
That's
They
what he
don't want.
does.
You shouldn't have to sit and meticulously pick through everything that's being said and have to doubt a person when they come across like that. But we do.
It's the easiest comeback is, oh, if you don't agree with what we're doing, you're just a pedophile or you love pedo or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
it's a dumb argument, but
The cause that you're claiming to support, we also support. But you're not actually doing what you say you're doing.
yeah. I
And
mean,
that's
we
my
had
problem.
Brian on here how long ago?
Exactly. And he explained the right way, quote unquote, and I want to say it that way, to do this. If you were going to put yourself out there, if you're going to try to be, in that situation to try and help the police to do better, like, okay, now they've told you how to. And it sounds like from what we're hearing more and more, it's not this grand mystery. All you got to do is ask.
Yep.
And once they tell you the answer, okay, it's very simple. And guess what, guys? As a whole, they say going on Facebook Live and doing the whole thing is not how you do it. Over and over again. We're not hearing it from just, he said, she said. Like, this is coming from the mouths of the people that are actually able to prosecute and do something about it. They're saying, don't do it this way.
Yeah.
We'll accept your help, but this is how you got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of what you think of Pete Weeks, if you don't have a case, he's not going to be able to do anything. That's just, I mean, even on the really questionable stuff he does, there's still evidence, quote unquote, whether it's legit, who knows, but you got to at least be able to pull something off the phone,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just wild. And it's also interesting that because obviously we were planning on Sunday's show going a little bit different way. And this is kind of the one where we just wing it. We usually don't plan on having a guest, whatever. You guys, like I said, get in the chat, call in, whatever. But I thought it was really interesting, the conversation we had with Randy on Sunday, because it's, even if you have a feud with somebody, you disagree with somebody, whatever, a lot of times when you have a conversation, even if you agree to disagree, it solves the problem. And that's what's so infuriating about Paul and Crazy Chris is they just absolutely refuse to have a conversation. And I know Crazy will be like, well, you and my free speech and you blocked me from the... Yeah, because that wasn't free speech, okay? Trying to intimidate people to get them to shut up is not free speech,
No.
okay? It's not.
No, it's polar opposite, really.
And she's the first one that cries about, oh, my information, this and that. But she's more than happy to post people's addresses, pictures of their houses, call their workplaces, whatever. I mean, it's insane. And I don't know. I still can't wrap my head around it. I've been running pages like this for a long time and dealing with corruption or whatever, but I have never encountered somebody that just is so, I don't even know how to describe it, just so like feral in the way that they can never be wrong and blah, 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 blah. I mean, and it's crazy because you listen to her sister. Her sister sounds reasonable. I get that there's two sides to every story, but when you look at the difference between, and it's always, Christine's always playing the victim, no matter what, whether it's the GoFundMe or whatever happened, she tries to say happened with her dad, because I don't really believe any of that either. But it's just wild that we have her back. And that's the thing that doesn't make sense too. Okay, so if you want to vehemently defend someone, and this is the guy you pick, I don't get it. I can't wrap my head around it. It's just, it's wild. But It's crazy. Crazy. That's why we call it crazy cross.
But
But
enough about them. Let's go on to
on
another
the
topic.
bigger and better things. So I'm thinking about, because I know this isn't going to be for everybody, and I think we might have to do the stream on Rumble, because I think the next GOP debate is going to be on Rumble. So I don't know if I do like a watch party with that on Facebook, if they'll take it down, or, I don't want the stream to get cut in the middle for whatever reason. So, and like I said, I doubt that's going to be for everybody. So we'll just advertise that ahead of time and say, hey, this is I think it's like the last Wednesday of the month, 28th. I think it's the 28th. But I think it would just be interesting to have a watch party, kind of, like I said, I don't know how many of you guys are into watching debates. I find it entertaining, especially the shit that gets said sometimes. I really wish we could get a debate between Biden and RFK Jr., because I think that would be 110% better than anything that could happen at the Republican one. But we'll have to see. And I don't know, maybe Trump will decide to show up this time, maybe not. Hard to tell.
I haven't been keeping up enough to have an opinion on that.
Yeah, I watched the other one. It wasn't. I mean, there were some one-liners, and then you got the Chris Christie's always in there. I'm Chris Christie, and my platform is I hate Trump. Which, that's fine, but Chris Christie's just never going to be president. He just needs to accept that. And that other guy that what was his name? Like Asa Hutchinson, like he literally looks like Darth Sidious. Like he just needs the hood, and he could be there and do what must be done. I'm telling you, he could definitely play the role. But it's just funny. That's something I find entertaining. So I figure, hey, because I'm listening to, and unfortunately, I couldn't find like just the regular raw version. I had to listen to this other guy's input. It's just really annoying because he was just, I can't remember what the guy. It was the guy that Nick Fuentes or whatever. He's the one that went with losing track.
Don't ask me. I didn't watch.
Yeah, they had a dinner with Trump. It was him and Kanye West, whatever he's calling himself these days. So him and his Fuentes show up. And I guess Fuentes is like real big, like anti-Semite or something. So everybody's like, "Oh, Trump's anti-Semite, whatever." Like I think he kind of got pulled into that. But now I'm not going to sit on here and defend Trump or whatever, because he's just. I think he would have been 100% better off if he just like learned when to shut up sometimes. Kind of like Harry Miller. They have a lot in common sometimes. But I think the debate will be interesting to cover. Have my little 2 cents and this, that, whatever. I mean, it is interesting because, it kind of pisses me off too, because it's like, the quote drama posts or whatever. They're the ones that go crazy. No. And then you do real good research or whatever, put a piece together, and you get like 5 people read it. Might get a like here or there if you post, Paul's running around the street with his underwear today. That'll get like 1,000 likes. It's just, it's kind of frustrating when you're like me and you want to kind of focus on the issues kind of stuff. And, the memes and everything are funny. That's fine. But at some point we got to sit down and say, okay, there's this issue. And I'm planning on, he hasn't gotten back to me on the day and time, but I'm planning on having the guy on who's running against Matt Pacifico. Now, I know he's running on the Democrat side of the ticket, so some of you guys are like, I'll never vote for a liberal, but, Matt Pacifico is like a whole other level of, I wouldn't even call him a Republican. He's just like, he's kind of a grifter too. Like, what does he do all day? I'm just kind of curious. Now, I'll admit I haven't gotten this guy's whole platform and everything figured out, but that's something we can do when I interview him on the show too. And then it's there for everybody, and then you guys can get in there in the comments and ask him questions, whatever. So I think that would be interesting. I think it would be interesting even if we would host a debate between him and Pacifico. I don't think Pacifico would agree to it.
Probably not. But
if he wants to prove me wrong, I'd be more than happy about that, though. I think that would be very interesting, because really, like, these local debates or local races, when you have debates, Pacifica, he's the bread boy. But yeah, the local stuff, when you have the quote debates. They're always like these softball. It was kind of like that. I think that's basically the piece that I took with the video with Ted Simpson, where he's, claiming, "Oh, I represented Sunoco and brought all these jobs into Huntington County or whatever." And I cut because but that's what I mean. In all of these debates, they kind of have their little moments, but it's kind of dry the whole way through, especially the local ones. So I don't know. I think if we had a debate on here, we could keep it interesting, keep it entertaining.
To answer a comment though in the section there is no way in hell that they're smoking a bong, dude. Because if they did, they'd be a lot more mellow and maybe a little bit smarter about their actions and shit. Like they're smoking something, but it sure as hell ain't out of a bong, if you get what I mean.
Did you ever smoke meth out of a boot?
What?
That was a failed attempt to play on old Greg, but
Oh,
old Greg. Nobody probably even knows what I'm talking about.
you do. That's okay.
Last debate was 2015. I honestly don't remember a local debate, but I might have missed it. I think the last one I actually went to was 2018, 2019. It was the one when Amy Webster was running the first time, because that's when I figured out that Creek and Latker, the guys that were completely independent of her campaign, were just like hanging out with her the entire time. So it's like, oh, and I went home and wrote that article, and Latker got all mad.
Shocker. Shocker.
I'm surprised those haven't got more traffic lately. I figured somebody would want to look at them, but I mean, I guess too, like because I know we have like a ton of people come in from Huntington. I don't know where we got a bunch of followers the last 2 days. I don't know where all you guys are coming from. Honestly, the podcast, when we're doing semi-local stuff, probably won't be all that interesting because it's not going to make any sense. But but there again,
At the same time, though, I feel like a lot of, especially for, not that it matters, but fun fact about me, I've been to 23 states and 4 other countries now. And let me tell you, it's about the same everywhere. They might talk a little different, act a little bit different, but as a whole, I feel like a lot of areas are all facing similar problems, if not exactly the same problems. So, though it's different people we're talking about, at the same time, they can kind of replace the names with who it is in their own towns. Like, we're all facing these insane problems, which is even worse, in my opinion.
well, in UPMC statewide, so we'll just kind of bridge into that.
Yeah, fuck that.
So I was
Definitely, let's go there.
Yeah, so I was talking to a good friend of mine last night, and the amount of stories just between the two of us, it's like everybody has a UPMC story, specifically UPMC Altoona, but I think it's pretty awful across the board, of just complete negligence in a lot of situations. And I'm not bashing the nurses or whatever. I think a lot of them don't have control.
No, they don't.
They have too many patients per, which I think part of the problem is nobody wants to work for UPMC. So one of the issues we were talking about, because I used to work over there, my buddy still does. So they put out this job posting for the position that we were in. And I'm not going to be too specific because, that crazy ears are listening. But, so basically, he's been there several years. He is making more than the bottom of the salary that was posted. And it was about the maximum was about $10 higher. So they would hire somebody off the street with experience for a couple bucks more than he's making. He's been there several years. And I guess he got a hold of HR about it, and they were just like, well, it's fair. Don't argue about it. Because when I was there, they started doing, when I first was hired there, we ran everything out of the pharmacy over there. So, which it made sense. And then because of like COVID and everything, oh, we're not making enough money, which UPMC is a nonprofit too. So I'm not, between the insurance and there's this, I'm sure if you go through the books, you could find all kinds of fun shit. But so what they started doing was they had me go out, and for the counties that I was responsible for, I'd go out to Pittsburgh every day and pick the stuff up there and bring it back. And there was a pay rate difference between Altoona and Pittsburgh. I forget what it was. It was like $1.50, $2 an hour or something. So And because they basically had me go over to take a new position, right? When I took that position, HR told me, "Oh yeah, you'll get that $1.50 whatever an hour raise." Which, I mean, that's even especially back then, before the money printers really went wild and inflation was out of control. That was a nice bump. And so I get there, and then I'm running this route now as technically an employee out there, and my next paycheck doesn't reflect it. So I call HR and I'm like, okay, so what didn't get switched? Oh yeah, by the way, you're still on the Altoona pay scale. I'm like, what? Yeah, that's just how it is. I mean, they just care so much about their employees. So there were people getting hired off the street with zero experience that were making more than I was, because I had only been there 6 months, I think, at that time. So it's fucking wild.
And to clarify, like you were doing like delivery stuffs, so it's to help people understand, because when you say you work in at UPMC, don't want them thinking that you're one of the nurses and shits.
No, I'm not a nurse.
Just to clarify before anybody comes for a throat on that.
I'm not a nurse. I'm not a fan of big pharma. But hey, if somebody wants stuff from the pharmacy, I'll bring it to them. Whatever, they'll pay me to do it. So that's
actually really awesome. I did not know that about UPMC in Pittsburgh. I actually was at that one, and I will say it is a night and day difference in the care. I've been to UPMC Altoona and UPMC Pittsburgh.
so literally they don't wait. Is that okay? So they have a food bank for the employees because they don't want to fucking pay them enough.
Yep.
That's what I'm getting out of that.
Yep. Hey, it's better than nothing. That's why I said it's nice. At least you're doing something right. Which is really sad to have to say.
Well,
I'm biting my tongue so hard because I could rant for hours about my deep-seated hatred for UPMC Altoona. And again, it is not any of the nurses, because I can honestly say that I never had a bad nurse at UPMC Altoona.
No.
Doctors, 100% had terrible doctors there. Had some good ones, had some awful ones, but I never, ever had a bad nurse when I was there. And I could tell there was one nurse specifically that I cannot name, and I can't remember her name, so I'm sorry if you see this and you realize I'm talking about you. I'm so sorry. I'm awful with names and faces, okay? But like she went to war for me. I had this doctor in the room back before they figured out that I had Crohn's, and he was kind of going back and forth with this other doctor. And I'm sitting there getting visibly upset because I have two doctors arguing in front of me. I literally am so sick that I could barely keep myself upright at this point. And this nurse just suddenly was like, she pulled the mom thing. She was like, enough. If you two are going to argue, do it in the hall, not around our sick patient. You're stressing her out. It's not how we do things right here. She just went the hell off. And these two doctors tucked their tails between their legs and were out the door so damn fast. And as soon as they were, she was just like, are you okay? Do you need anything? And like, she brought me this little sherbet thing. And like, she had sat with me, and like, she sat with me until I basically passed out because I was so tired. Like, that one was a godsend, especially because I know most of y'all don't know. I basically spent about 3 to almost 4 months damn near straight in hospitals between UPMC Altoona and Danville, quite literally dying. And I don't say that to be funny, like, I was dying. No, literally dying. I had a doctor tell me 3 separate times, sorry, I hope you have your affairs in order. You're probably not going to make it through this. And every time I did, they were like, what the hell, are you a cat with 9 lives? At this point, I have to joke about it. If I don't, I'd go insane. I've definitely got to say, I have a lot to say about the healthcare system. I spent a lot of time in and around it to tell y'all there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad in it. And a lot of it doesn't come down to necessarily the person, but the management. Because you can tell that the nurses want to do things different. And even the good doctors, you can tell that basically their hands are tied in certain situations. They know what they want to do. They know what the best route for care is, but they know that they can't get through the loopholes and all this, the song and dance and the red tape at the hospitals and this, that, and the other.
Well, that's the problem.
It's not fair.
You have the hospitals, and then you have the insurance companies, and it is a whole big ordeal.
It's all about money. It's not about what actually matters for the patient.
Yeah.
It doesn't anymore. All they want to hear is that you can freaking pay for it first. And if you can't, tough shit, you're out of luck, basically.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely sickening.
And the problem is the way they want to solve all these issues is, well, just more regulations, and it almost doesn't make sense, because I remember, I think it was Judy Ward that had either sponsored a bill or introduced a bill to basically mandate only so many patients per nurse, which that makes sense. But the flip side of that is, okay, so at what point are they going to have to start turning people away when they can't find enough nurses? Like, does that really make sense either?
That breaks my heart to see that.
Yep. Yeah, it's the whole.
The system is broken because there's a lot of, like I keep saying, there's a lot of good people in the healthcare system. Their heart's in the right place. They took up that profession because they want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And then for their hands to be tied is just absolutely disgusting. Like, especially since, all right, I'm gonna go there. My first husband, God rest his soul, he was a corpsman for the Navy. The entire reason he joined as a corpsman was that he had it set in his head that all he wanted to do was help people. And the oath he took on when he joined that profession was do no harm. And he took that very seriously. And a lot of the people I met that were also in that field and even now outside of the military and like day to day, like there are still a lot of people that hold that oath very, very close to their heart. And you can basically see their hearts break when they realize that they can't actually give you the best care possible. They can't actually guarantee to do no harm because their hands are tied. They can only go so far and then there's nothing they can do unless they want to lose their job.
Yeah, well, it's almost like Kylie said about the insurance companies. They just want to try. Yeah, it's almost like when you take your car in for warranty. You know, oh, as long as we try something, it's good enough for now.
Basically.
Because don't get me started on warranties either. But
We could both rant separately for hours about these things, huh?
well, it's just. I mean, I know, especially like the extended warranties are mostly bullshit. Because if you look at what it actually covers most of the time, now this is on vehicles, obviously, but even a lot of the factory warranties. I mean, if you now that is the one advantage to buying a new car is in most states you're covered under some kind of lemon law. The problem is when you buy a used car, I don't think there's any state that pretty much every used car you buy is as is. Because remember, Bruce Purgatory tried to argue with me about that. Oh no, it comes with a warranty. It's still as is. It's no lemon
I was
law
gonna say I didn't think lemon law could apply in Pennsylvania anywhere, or am I wrong on that? It's been a few years,
for
but
new cars. Yeah, because my parents
okay.
actually had the motor in that Jeep replaced. Because that was actually my first vehicle I bought off of was that '94 Jeep Cherokee. But
Okay.
those 4.0s are known for the piston slap. So my dad thought there was a defect in the motor just because it made that noise.
Mm.
And interestingly enough, once again, back even I don't know specifically if that was a lemon law thing or a warranty. I'd have to ask my dad. But when they replaced it, okay, so they told my parents they were putting a brand new '95 motor in it, right? You know what was actually in it? A rebuilt '89, I believe. And I didn't find that out till I went to change the water pump one time. And I ordered the '94 water pump. Well, the pulley on it was a different size. It didn't line up. So luckily, I took it down to Napa because I'm like, well, what the hell's going on here? And one of the guys went through and looked through a couple different years. He's like, yeah, this is what fits that pulley. And sure enough, it was. So it came from an 80, I think it was an 88 or an 89. So the engine was as old as me, but the everything else was my brother's age. He was born in '94. So
Yeah.
fun little story about how much bullshit the car dealerships will tell you.
I'm glad you brought that up because, like I said, I was told that Pennsylvania didn't really honor, so to speak, the lemon law, but they had something in place of it, which was the Magnuson Act. And I could be completely wrong going off of the person who told me this. I just remember it being a very specific conversation that the Magnuson Act, I think, was more of like a federal thing that kind of, if you couldn't enact the lemon law, you could throw that in there. It basically was the same that after X, it had something to do with used vehicles. That if you got a used vehicle that was guaranteed to be like in running condition and it ended up being a complete piece of shit that they just kind of prettied up long enough to get off the lot, it could kind of cover your ass. Because that's essentially what happened when I traded my, let me count, first Subaru, no, second Subaru. I've had a lot of cars, so I guess my second Subaru
You
for a
have had a
truck.
lot of cars.
I think it's been like 17 or 18. I need to sit down and make a list again. I have a problem, guys. But it's calmed down years. But yeah, I traded the Subaru in and I got a truck from, Junk and Putty. My mistake. I did not realize that's what it was at the time. And, I'll argue with anybody that on that if you want to argue with me about the Junk and Putty. J&P Auto is totally Junk and Putty because I literally traded the car, got in the new truck. I went not even 15 minutes. I went from there to Juniata to stop and see a friend, and the freaking water pump blew out. So I had to wait for them to tow it to a shop to replace the water pump and give me this stupid loaner, which was this freaking Buick, and it was a goddamn boat, which I was not used to driving, so I really didn't go anywhere for a minute. After that happened, I ended up finding out that after I took it to the car wash and I crawled underneath it, because it was a truck and I had, I think, a 3-inch body lift on it. So I crawled like underneath it just to take another look after I'd washed it. And I come to find out that basically 3 of the 4 body mounts are like rusted through, and like you can like shoulder check the cab and it's about ready to come off. So I call in about that. I'm like, what the hell? This was hidden very well. And before I even have a chance to take it back over to them, I'm coming down. Oh God, we've been gone for a while.
Was that J&P?
Yeah.
Oh my God, guys, stay the fuck away
Yeah.
from them. Seriously. I don't
The
think I've
third and
ever
final
heard any
issue,
good
the
about
third
them.
and final issue I had with that truck, and why I finally lost my ever loving shit was, it's 7th coming down the hill, right? To go to across the bridge to the hospital. I'm
7th
coming
Street.
down 7th Street, and there's those 2 lights there. I'm awful at describing things. And all of a sudden, I'm coming down a steep hill, and I'm like, okay, time to brake. Keep in mind, this is also a standard. So, I go to shift to, gear down and start braking. And I suddenly realize I have no brakes and I cannot shift it out of the gear it's in. And I have a good bit of momentum coming down the hill. And all I can see in front of me is a car. And for some reason, my eyes immediately fixate on the fact that there's a car seat in the back. And all I can think is, I'm in a giant lifted truck and I'm about to run the hell over this car. And I basically somehow last minute managed to Hail Mary into the uniform, like I think it's the scrub shot right there. It didn't make it the whole way into it. I ended up going up over the curb a little bit because, frankly, who the hell's aiming at this point? I'm just trying to do anything to not hit the car in front of me.
Yep.
At that point, I am pissed. I am beyond pissed. I end up going in. I'm like, I will have this out of here by tomorrow, but I cannot move my truck right now. Is it okay if it sits here? They gave me the green light. I'm fine. I can't reveal which towing company I end up calling, but I end up giving them the story what's going on with the truck, and this gentleman is kind enough to tow my truck and park it right in front of their doors, and he puts it in reverse, and I take the keys. And after 3 or 4 days of them calling and begging me to move the truck, and I keep saying, are you going to give me my car back and, get rid of this loan that I took out for this piece of shit that you won't do anything about? On the 4th day, they finally conceded just so I could move it because they were tired of going in through the garage. Long story short, don't buy from Drunken Putty.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, you're always taking a gamble when you buy a used car, but if you're buying something with hundreds of thousands of miles on it,
it wasn't even that many. I'm pretty sure if I remember right, it was a 95 Dodge Ram 1500, and I believe it had
well, but
just
it's
over.
as old as you at that point.
I know,
so.
but thank you. I think it only had, I knew it was like 120,000. It wasn't like, it was up there, but it wasn't ridiculously up there, which surprised me because the truck was obviously well loved. Somebody did a little bit of work to it.
The problem is too, in the
contracted.
wintertime, and now they throw the
Yeah.
calcium out instead of just the salt, which is even worse for your vehicle. But yeah, you can have a car that's 12 years old and has 50,000 miles on it, it's ready to fall apart just because of everything they put down in the winter and the rust.
I'm super mad because, like, I'm not an idiot. I don't claim to know a ton about vehicles. I don't. I know just enough to not get scammed usually. I crawled my ass underneath this truck before I bought it. I checked it. They had to have sprayed paint or something on it for me to have missed that because I checked it.
No, they
I know
probably
for
did.
it. Well, it was after the car wash is when I found it.
I don't know if it would have been. I don't know if they would do that. I mean, I wouldn't
don't
be
know.
surprised. Or when the guy traded it in for. I mean, if you trade something in and buy at J&P, you're basically like trading your problem for somebody else's.
Well, it didn't help that, when I finally got my car back, I was super ticked off because I had bought an aftermarket like radio for it. And it was one of those touch screens. I can't remember the brand.
Oh,
but
and
it
that
was
just was magically missing.
No, it was in there, but when I went to turn it on, I didn't even leave the parking lot. I went to turn it on to start my music, and it wouldn't turn on. So I literally got out of the car, went inside, and demanded that somebody bring me a freaking screwdriver, and then had a mechanic stand there and wait for me to get it back, basically, as I pulled it out of the freaking, God, I'm drawing like the dash of the car, and come to find out that, yeah, somebody originally did take it. They disconnected it and in a rush probably put it back in and forgot to plug the damn thing in. That was the only thing, thank God, wrong with it.
Yeah.
But I was ready. The look on my face. I won't finish the sentence because, I'm sure somebody will about it. But, I'm sure y'all can imagine that I was not happy because, frankly, before I had my child And when it was just me, I had a very specific set of rules. It was hard to get me worked up. But my rules were do not fuck with my family. Do not fuck with my friends. Do not fuck with my car, truck, or cars, depending on what time of my life it is. Don't fuck with my money, and only my money, because if you do that, you're screwing with everything else.
Yep.
So for that to have been in a time of my life when it's just me before my child, my car was my baby. I already had a lot of regret trading it, but it was time to let it go. So for it to go that way and then to get her back and that sigh of relief, like, oh, my baby, what is wrong with it? Why won't my radio start? I was ready to go to war. And that's also why I threw a pizza at you the first night I met, because somebody scratched the side of my Subaru.
I remember that. Yeah, so
My third Subaru at this point.
Is anybody planning on calling in tonight? I
I
figure we
don't
get at least
know.
one by now. 412-440-3484. Call it on in, Paul.
He better not have called me old, because he's older than I am. So if I'm old, he's ancient.
I'll accept that.
But for a car, yeah, 95 is a bit old at this point for a vehicle.
Unless I go into politics and I'm pretty young still.
Yeah.
I think the average politician's like 75 or something. We gotta get the extra old people. George should just fucking run for office.
Please, I'd vote for George. If you're listening, George, you have my vote.
I don't know what he's doing. I know he's posting some stuff on the that Huntington page. They're still going after Reader pretty hard. And I guess Stephen Yetter's back too. You know, the guy that exposed Ted Simpson as part of some Blair County corruption thing. And I'd never heard of him in my life. And I'm like, dude, you're so full of shit.
Hi. I'm going to keep throwing in the hi-yas until somebody in the comments like acknowledges and they know what that's from. That's my thing. I throw in random little things all the time for you guys of different fandoms and shows and stuff. If you ever recognize or think that I'm making a joke or like referencing another show, anything, please say it in the comments. I'm waiting for you guys to catch on. It makes me happy.
I think John posted a Uncle Roger thing the other day, didn't he?
Did he?
Or
I might have missed it. I've been trying to avoid Facebook. I won't lie. I've been trying to avoid it the last few days just because, like anybody, I get burned out on it, and I need to step back because it's just.
yeah,
I need to adult guy, like, especially when it comes to crazy and her bullshit. It's like, go over there and do that. I've got actual shit to do other than sit on Facebook all day long. I've got a house to run, gosh darn it. And a 6-year-old to keep entertained when she gets home from school and 2-year home to give me some slight bit of relief.
Definitely, yeah. And then, yeah, just typical. Well, I mean, I'm on the road all day anyway, so it's like, I mean, I'm sure you guys can tell, like, I'm not full of energy like I usually am on Saturday because I just have a short route on Saturday, and usually we're doing all kinds of stuff, and then the rest of the week I'm just kind of like
burned out.
Yeah, and it looked like it was going to start pouring. We had a hell of a storm come through yesterday.
It rained a little bit this morning. Just a little.
But it's like literally you end up driving through like 2 or 3 hurricanes during my shift. So
yeah,
I hate that. Like I would almost rather drive in the snow than in the rain.
Yeah,
it's
honestly,
like,
yeah.
At least the snow they can plow off the road, whereas like the rain, if it rains hard enough, it just lays there. And it's just a pain.
I, of all people, I used to live in North Carolina, can tell you, especially because I happened to live in North Carolina during its first record-breaking hurricane at the time. You know, fun for me, I walk outside of my house I'm renting and, you know, oh, look, there's water everywhere. The yard is water. Thank God I've parked my, you know, low-profile car over on the mound over there because, you know, my lifted truck is sunk in the mud. I have a motorcycle over there somewhere. I think it fell over. I don't know, but I guess I ain't leaving unless I want to swim. I made the mistake of driving through high water once, and I will admit, full disclosure, do not do this crap, guys. I was young, I was very dumb, ended up working out. I'm very grateful for that, but I will never do it again. Will never do it again. I'm pretty sure my passenger was about ready to stroke out by the time we got through it because I decided, not knowing about hurricane season, because, you know, I'm from Pennsylvania. You know, it doesn't cross my mind that hurricanes, you know, might actually mean more than just a little bit of extra heavy rain. That it's like, wow, it's raining. It actually does something when you're down there in the area where, you know, hurricanes hit.
Yep.
My dumbass decides to go down to South Carolina because I'm within 35 minutes on a bad traffic day from Myrtle Beach. So I'm like, I want to go down to the beach for a bit. I go down to the beach for a bit. And, the weather turns. I'm like, okay, time to go home. Oh no. Every time I get to the freaking state line, so to speak, on the highway, they're all blocked off with their equivalent of a PennDOT truck saying the road's closed because there's too much water on it. So I'm like, how the hell do I get home? After about an hour and a half of driving around trying to figure it the hell out, I get lucky enough and there's a PennDOT truck. Well, sorry, their version of the PennDOT truck. Getting ready to go through it.
So there are some comments on the corruption side.
Are there?
So
All right.
yeah, so guys, one thing I just want to remind everybody, if you want to get on the live chat, come over to the BDTR page, because I know we simulcast just because it does help bring some new people in that maybe haven't seen it before or didn't follow that page anyway. Yeah, so I could invite Pete. I don't know if he'd come on or not. I mean, probably if we're talking about the Pred Hunter stuff, I'd imagine he probably wouldn't want to discuss any of the drug stuff, which I mean, that would be fine. Somebody else says he was 2 houses down making a scene. It's not even there. So I guess he went to the wrong house again looking for somebody. I don't know if Paul ever ran Altoona Confessions. I do know who used to run that, though, so I can ask him. And plot twist, it wasn't me. It wasn't Abby. It wasn't Kylie.
No, it definitely wasn't me, because if y'all can't tell, I am kind of ignorant to most of the stuff that we talk about on here. That's why I like to come on, because I can offer that ignorant perspective. I don't know as much as he does. I'm not as versed on it. I like to come in not really knowing a whole lot about it to give a completely different vantage point of the average person who doesn't know what the hell you're talking about usually. I didn't start in on any of this crap until he finally, and it wasn't even really him, it was Ted Simpson shit that finally lit the fire in me. That I was like, oh, hell no. I'm gone, but Huntington County is my home. No.
Ted Simpson just, I mean, the guy's a genius. He came up with liable and all that shit. So
Salamander.
it's great. But I guess somebody else said Paul used his brother's social security number to get a job that he can't have because of a background check. So I've heard the brother say, which I think, like Paul Senior, if you're in there, like, why the fuck didn't you just name your other son something else? Like, you make it too easy for him because he can just pretend he's Paul Junior if he has his social security number. It's probably not hard.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know.
It's me.
And then somebody was calling out Bedford County fake press. Honestly, like I know Randy does things a lot differently than we do. After having a conversation, because we had 2 conversations. We talked right before the live started, and then he actually called in, which surprised me. But, I mean, I thought we had a pretty good conversation. I know he does his thing, whatever. And honestly, guys, the feud wasn't even so much him. It's he was given bad information. I know that for a fact. And the interesting thing was, so right after we got done with that show, Crazy posted on her stupid page this clip from
15 hours ago.
15 hours prior of where he was bashing us, which if you watch the whole thing, there was like 2 minutes at the end where he mentioned anything about us anyway.
And she completely clipped out the
She
entire
just
beginning
clips
part.
that
I
and
listened
posts
to
it like he
yeah.
just went, had this conversation. Now he's back just talking shit, which is not what happened.
No. So if anybody goes on there or anyone sees that on Crazy's page, we wanted to clear that up, because that was not in the procession that she did post it again, I think like a day ago. And somebody sent it to me and was like, what the hell? I was like, yes. But the one nice thing is, like us, Randy is smart enough to not wear the same shirt every single time. So it's pretty easy to narrow down what show it was.
Yeah.
Because the minute I saw it when we got off the podcast, I was like, the hell? That doesn't even make sense. So I started digging through real quick and I found it this way. I kind of had that information in my back pocket. This way, if Randy reached out as well, I could be like, hey man, like, a perfect example of what started this miscommunication. Because now I have to wonder, that clip that we saw initially, that she was like, oh yeah, good for him calling these guys out. Like, I have to wonder if that wasn't another post that was basically just super skewed and edited the way she did.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, like, I don't know much about Randy. I don't really know what's up. I
mean,
have...
he does block people pretty quick.
He does. To each his, everyone runs their channel their own way. Yeah. I just respect that he came on and he admitted he was wrong and he cleared the air about Miss Shelley. That's the only thing I really wanted, because like Chris said, come after us. We don't care. We have thick skin. We can handle it.
Honestly, just like
don't drag innocent people into
his thing with having some stuff in his personal life going on too. That
yes, that my heart still feels for him on that, because I, especially of all people, completely understand how he would feel in that situation. And I would literally, I love you, but you already know I would absolutely kill to turn back time, even if he didn't make it, just to sit there and at least be there when he went,
Yeah.
instead of having
Well,
to get the call afterwards.
that's a whole
Podcast on
that's a
its
whole
own,
other
honestly,
yeah.
because I think that's the first I've mentioned that. And just to clarify to the viewers, in case anybody caught it, when I refer to my first husband, Gregory, Chris already knows all this and he's obviously fine with it. So just to let you guys know, because I think we should do a podcast on this at some point. But
Oh yeah.
Greg was my first husband. We did not divorce. He actually ended up passing away in an accident when he was 19, just shy of 20, and over in Hawaii, stationed in the military. So I will bring him up every now and again, but just to not confuse people too much and for nobody to be like, oh shit, why is she talking about another guy with her husband sitting right there? he knows the story front to back. And another reason I absolutely love and adore you is that you are completely chill about every time I bring it up or talk about it and whatnot. Like, you encourage
Well,
it
we
even.
definitely need to do an episode because the way things went down was pretty fucked up. So.
It was. And I honestly really would like a chance to talk about that more at length, because I really hope that it might bring some comfort to other people that maybe lost loved ones in a similar way.
Well, I'm sure you weren't the first one to end
No.
up in a situation like that. So, but
Exactly. But that's a whole nother show. And that's why I love about our Wednesday shows, because we're here, there, and all over the place, basically lining up the next ones.
yep.
And that's the thing. We don't script. We don't really plan what we're doing, guys. We just come on here and we talk about it. Like I said, I literally usually don't know what the hell we're even going to talk about up until the day of, if not minutes before, especially on Wednesday. Like, he got home and I was like, so do we have a topic for tonight? Or am I just going to sit and ramble? Are we going to ramble? Do we have a topic?
Well, and that's why we try to bring the guest, because like when you have a guest, honestly, it's super easy because you give the guest the floor and ask them questions, where you just got to wing it on whatever. It's you never know where it's going to go, but that's why on Wednesdays we really try to emphasize, hey, get in the comments, call in, whatever. If you got questions, you got this happened, that happened, whatever, we can talk about it.
And it doesn't always have to be serious. It doesn't always have to be politics. Like, we can talk about other stuff. You want to nerd out and talk about some, anime or the cartoons or whatever? Go ahead. I'm more than happy to talk. You don't want to talk about really anything. We're pretty laid back and chill. I feel like Wednesday is more of our night to kind of get to know you guys and for you guys to know us as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not formal of a show.
Yep. So.
Oh, they're 100% watching. Agreeing with the comment section right now. They're 100% watching. I already know that they like to do this thing where they don't actually click into it, so they think that, it doesn't count as a view, but it does. The only difference is it doesn't pop up on there that I can see that they're watching, so to speak. And who gives a shit?
Well, that's pretty much where I'm at. And I was going to go because we do have those recordings or whatever, but I just figure it's not even, fuck it.
We'll make a post maybe if people really want to hear it, but elsewise it's not worth our time. It's not worth any of y'all's time, really. Like, he's just a piece of shit, and we know that. And it's at this point we're literally just beating a dead horse. It feels like what else can we go over?
Well, if the horse would just fucking die,
I mean, that'd be great, but
it's like you're trying to drown him in like an inch of water, and he's that's a terrible horse noise, but whatever. Surprised
we have yes for the post, so maybe we will make a post on that at some point with the recordings. Make another reel or something out of it.
I might, depending on what we do Saturday, I might play him. We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. Well, I want to start doing more polls this way for like folks that can't necessarily tune in when we're like live. This way, when we're like asking y'all questions. So I love and thank you guys that do answer like really snappy when we ask something to you guys. Like, we really do love the feedback, and we do try to take that in consideration when we do these shows. So don't be afraid to talk to us.
Yeah, and if you guys can't make the live, we put everything on. Well,
Everywhere.
most of them are on YouTube, but we did have one get taken down. But usually Rumble, it'll be on Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio. I think it's still on Google Podcasts. Now, obviously, those are the audio only version, but yeah, because actually, I looked earlier that Rumble with the interview we did with Kylie, which is in the WordPress thing, it's up to like 7,000 views. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Thank you guys for coming and reading. We appreciate it.
Because usually for me, if I get like 5 views, I'm like, fuck yeah,
Kylie, I will drive up there, girl. Don't play. Don't play. Honestly, I would love to just one of these days. I think it'd be fun just to do like a podcast where it's just like Kyle and I on.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, dear. Kick you off your own show for a little bit.
Hey, that's fine with me. I'll go watch the driveway and wait for somebody to turn around so I can go look out the window at the AR.
I love how that got taken so seriously when everybody and anybody who would, have a little bit of a humor would have seen that and like, ha ha ha. Like,
You can't fix stupid. That's what the problem is.
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on the comments. I am listening. I'm just
Yeah,
not the driveway. Okay, so we have a driveway alarm, but apparently it got switched at some point. And so instead of going ding ding driveway, it goes ding ding front door.
Yeah.
When it decides it wants to work. And the last time I heard that, there was I think a coyote or fox, we don't know at this point what the hell it was, walking up the driveway when I'm supposed to be walking my child up to the bus stop. And that's when I was like, you know what? We're just going to wait for the lights to bus.
It was an unfriendly puppy.
It was. It disappeared awfully quick, but it didn't help that our child also wanted to go and find it because, ooh, fluffy, cute pet. This kid is bizarre. Like
She would have came back like riding the thing.
She would have. Most kids that I've met, like, yeah, they love dogs, they love cats, they love the fluffy things. This kid also absolutely adores reptiles and has ever since she was born. Bearded dragon? Ooh, cute. Let me pet it. I take her to a zoo where they have a giant metal, like, bearded dragon, on display, and she wants to go and pet the thing because it's cute. Snakes, she sees a snake and she wants to go touch it. It's a cute little slithery snake. Mm-hmm. So, it's a cuddle rope. And I'm like, no, it's a danger noodle. Get the hell away from it. But then she's always like, well, Mom, its eyes are round. The round-eyed ones are nice. The slanty-eyed ones are mean. Those ones, we give them away with a stick. And I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you? I moved her to the middle of nowhere and she adapted like immediately. God help us. Else. She is. She's like a combination of both of us. God help everyone. I love it though.
All right. Well, I think because I'm tired.
Turtle.
So.
Me too.
I think we're going to call it a night here and we'll see you guys Saturday. I'm not sure who we're going to have on yet. We are planning on having a guest. So if, can't remember his name, but if Altoona Mayor running guy wants to get a hold of us, maybe do Saturday. It'd be fun to have you on, have an interview, and I think actually doing like a purely political thing would be a nice change of pace, and just keep all.
I'm gonna be a lot more lost, and expect me to be sitting here just kind of like through a lot of it because I keep up through the podcast, but when it gets into the true political jargon, I am lost. I'm learning. I'm trying.
Well, we're gonna open it with the video of Matt Pacifico like desk humping or whatever the fuck he was doing that day. I swear to God, it's on the page. If you guys don't believe me, go look through the videos. There's definitely like he's doing some like TikTok dance and is like it's desk humping is the best way I can describe it.
Don't do the TikTok dances, guys. Just don't. Just don't, please. We'll see y'all Saturday. Thank you for joining us tonight, and hope everybody has a great rest of their week.
Yep. Until next time.